So, good morning. We are speaking this morning from 1314 Ridge, my very favorite property. And today we have the homeowner, Marty Harper, here with us because he is really the master and the keeper of the architectural details and the integrity of this magnificent mansion. So, I thought I would just start out, Marty, by asking, talk to us a little bit about the architectural charm and what really captured your love of this property.
Sure. I think I'll go back and give you a little bit of the history of the architect too, because I discovered it when I was pursuing a master's in historic preservation at the School of the Art Institute. And one of my professors actually was doing some work on the building. So I was in the building before it was converted to be the 4 condominiums in the main house that it is today. And there's also 2 in the back in a coach house that was split in half that are townhomes. But it was designed by George Mayer, who was an architect that was more known for his prairie-style homes, both in North Chicago as well as the North Shore here. He actually started working at the same time frame as Frank Lloyd Wright, but they went off independently, probably in the late 1980s, 1880s, excuse me. And then this house was built in 1916, and it was built for an industrialist named George Dryden, different George. George Dryden's wife was of the Easton Kodak family. So her family's home's up in Rochester, New York, and looked very much like this exterior of this house does. So he was a prairie-style architect, Mayer was, but his client was requesting a house that looked very much like the Georgian home that his wife grew up in Rochester, New York. So that's why
the style came from the Georgian home
exactly
of her youth.
Right, and that's why the exterior has the 4 Corinthian columns on the front porch, which is very atypical for the 1916 period in Evanston. It's a bit of an anachronism in terms of how it appears versus other homes that were being built in that time frame. And also, the room that we're sitting in right now, it's on the 3rd floor of the house. It was a single-family home, obviously, when it was built, was a ballroom. And they would have the large events in here. They entertained quite a bit. He was quite successful in the Chicago business world, and they would have major events up here in the ballroom.
So talk to me a little bit about, because you have such a great history of architecture, the architectural details that really captured your love, like the barreled ceilings.
Yeah, it was mainly this room and the ceilings. I think I've always had an appreciation for architecture and design. I probably should have been an architect, didn't pursue that as a career, but when I saw this, when I was getting that master's, I just fell in love with the space and could envision how it would be easily divided into a sitting area like we're in right now, a main living space behind us, and then the dining area just adjacent to the kitchen. So it felt like a great space for wide open living, but also entertainment. So
Right.
I love to cook, and it was a great place to have large dinner parties in as well.
One of the things that I always love so much about showing your beautiful home is the symmetry, right? Like the alcoves, the window seats, the era that George Mayer built this home in just doesn't exist anymore. The attention to detail is so extraordinary.
Yeah. So it would have been classified as Georgian Revival, and the dormered windows, which are on both sides of this room, let in a great deal of natural light. So even though the room appears like it's just a ballroom with walls, there's actually 8 windows that shine light into this room. There's also a large patio out here that has natural light coming in through two open doors as well.
And it's pretty much throughout the whole house, like the windows. You
Yep.
have the alcoves here, then you have those magnificent leaded windows in the bedrooms in the back, and in what you use as sort of like a little den,
Yeah,
as well as in the office here.
those are original windows. They were refinished by the developer when he was working on splitting up the home. But those ocular windows were a bit of a signature to George Mayer's architecture. Those are original to the home. Yeah.
And when you bought the house, Marty, you bought it directly from the developer, so you were able to personalize finishes.
Correct.
Want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the home had already been designed into 4 different units. So there was certain things that couldn't be moved and certain things that could. They're like most of the wall structure in here I couldn't have changed. But I was able to pick all the different fixtures and finishes and paint colors, some things that would be for my liking.
And then, because you love the building so much, you graciously accepted the position of president of the association.
I did.
So tell us a little bit about the chiller system, the way that your unit heats and cools, as well as how the association works.
So it's a very modern closed pipe system, which means in the winter it is being filled with hot water. And then this unit itself has 8 separate zones with blowers. So the blowers blow over the warm pipe so warm air comes out. Conversely, in the summer, there's a big chiller in the back that chills up the water, pumps it into the system, and there's cold water running through the pipe system, and air blows over the closed pipe system to air condition it. One of the advantages of it is that the individual units, so like me being an owner of this unit, my electricity bills or gas bills were actually quite low because the association fees cover the cost of the chilling of the water or the heating of the water. So individual heating of a space like this might seem like it could be daunting. It wasn't quite expensive at all.
Talk a little bit about the architectural significance of the building in Evanston itself. It's kind of recognized as a landmark here.
Well, it's in a historic ridge district designated by the city of Evanston. So this building, as well as some other ones around it, are in a district that's been defined as being historic and has some significance. There's a plaque on the front that references the year in which it was built, as I said, 1916.
Right. So let's kind of walk around and talk about how you lived in the house.
Sure.
So we were talking a little bit about the alcoves and how the chiller systems are, pardon me, not the chiller systems, the blowers are actually within each of these cabinets, within each alcove.
Correct. So these alcoves here, this is facing Ridge Avenue. They could be used as sitting spaces if you want, but the story is that when the Drydens lived here, they had kids that would put on performances in this room, and they actually had drapes covering these, so when the performances were happening, the kids could duck behind and change costumes and come back out. So,
I love it.
yeah,
Oh,
and as you
that's
walk down,
awesome.
you can see how much natural light comes in through these. I think it really makes the room bright. Even on a cloudy day like today, it seems pretty natural light in here.
It's remarkable, the thoughts that go into architecture, even in I love the way the molding comes all the way up to the barrel ceilings.
Yeah.
You know, like, there's just no detail left untold. And the windows. So this is where you had your office.
Correct, and that's the window I referenced earlier. It's called an ocular window, but that overlooks Ridge Avenue, so that's right over, this room's over the front porch of the home. I had my office in here, desk was sitting right here, could look out, gaze out, thinking about my work if I had to. It was a nice space, and it's got sort of a drop ceiling, which makes you feel real cozy.
Right. And I love that there's tucked away storage behind.
Yep.
You know, really good use of space all
There's
the
a
way around.
great deal of storage in the roof line and off of a number of these rooms.
Yeah.
This room could also be used as a second bedroom or a third bedroom if you needed it.
Right. The laundry.
Yep.
Unusual to have a laundry room. You know, oftentimes we see in condos especially, like doors that open and a little closet, but I love that you have the storage in here, good side by side, and then that would be another one of the systems?
Right,
or
that's
is
an
that-
independent one. That's not one of the 8 zones. That one has a switch that can turn on. I actually never found the need to use it very much.
Right.
But in the winter, if you were going to be in here a great deal, you might want to turn it on for the heat.
And then they didn't miss the detail of yet another window seat, right?
Correct.
To get light even in this room
Correct.
that could have had so many different uses.
You know, when I was working with the developer, there was one other discussion that took place, and that was that this room could be a large walk-in pantry. So if you had someone who cooked extensively for a number of people and wanted to have a great deal of equipment, even though there's plenty of cabinets in the kitchen, we had talked about whether or not this could be used for that as well.
So we get a close-up look at the quilted stainless steel, which I just think it captures the light, it accents the kitchen so beautifully. So this was the black granite that you talked about that
Yep.
referenced you,
Yep.
that you referenced earlier.
Sort of a honed surface. I like a little bit more of a matte look to it. And this is just a wonderful space when you have a number of people over that quite often I'd be perched back here and everyone else would be standing around as everyone kind of gathers in kitchens frequently. But there's just such a great deal of counter space that it was very easy to cook for a large number of people.
Mm-hmm. And so this room was kind of where you would sit and read a book.
Yeah, so of the 4 rooms that you were saying could be bedrooms, in my head it was three bedrooms plus the library.
Right.
I actually used this one as a den, but this is a fold-out bed, so when I would have guests stay, we'll take you through the second bedroom in a minute, but guests would often sleep in this room as well. So it was a nice way to have 2 second bedrooms for guests to stay if they were coming for a holiday.
God, what a great room to sit down with a cup of coffee and read a great book.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
the room just kind of invites you. It's so warm, it kind of draws you in.
Absolutely. You know, one of the things that I mentioned to you before is that this building, having been built in 1916, is incredibly solid. It's very private and very quiet. And I really feel that in these rooms back here. Like, I never once heard a sound from any of my neighbors.
Right.
This was the room that I had set up as a guest bedroom. permanently. And quite bright. Again, there's a really nice window behind me, and there's a skylight in the bathroom that lets in all sorts of natural light as well. It's interesting when you see from the outside and look up. I think if you think there's rooms in the roof line that they might seem small, but even though there's a bit of a ceiling drop here, the room is still quite roomy and wide.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So your guests can enjoy staying by themselves and having a little den, or you can have two separate guests. And then it's so nice because your bedroom's right down the hall. So
Exactly.
it's a good distance, you have some nice privacy.
It's a bit down the hall this way, and it makes it very private back here for guests, obviously. Interesting sort of curved wall here that adds some detail in the space. And then this room opens up into the master bedroom. Again, quite bright and open, and a very, very large space for a master bedroom.
And I thought the way they designed the closet was so good. It's such a good size master closet. Good width, good depth. Love the mirror right as you walk in. Again, with the window for extra light. So I love to kind of capture your thought process and your design and how you design the master bath. Such a handsome room.
The one thing that was already going to be there, and had already been, the plumbing was there, is the large soaking tub here with jacuzzi. So that was something I couldn't have structural moving around. But what I did want was a large standing shower stall. So I made this room pop out a bit, so that is quite roomy in there. It allows you to have a seat, as well as the steam shower and the rain shower, and then the jets as well on the sidewall. And then I had the extra thick doors put in, and then the glass obviously was all the way to the top. So from a steam shower standpoint, it's really quite nice. This is on the second floor here. So the rest of the unit that we've seen is on the third floor. This allows you to have a really private entrance into your own space. And then as you come up the staircase here, enter into the grand space of the ballroom.
Right. Right. And as I said, I think what's really cool about this space is that it gives you the feeling like you're in a single family home.
It does.
You know,
Absolutely,
you really don't feel, and again, talking about the light.
Yep.
You know, you've made such a good point about the architect did such a superb job of bringing light in. Even in the railings, you know, opening up to the lights in the alcoves that are in the foyer.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting, I'm gonna go on a limb here, because I know George Mayer was more of a prairie style architect. One of the tenets of prairie style architecture was bringing the outside in, so bringing light, bringing nature in, and I wonder if that's one of the reasons why the home is built with such nice natural light coming in.
So, you know, as we come up the foyer, did your guests spend a lot of time here?
Well, the closet back there is where they hang their coats if it was during the winter or whatnot. Generally, this was sort of a way for me to say goodbye or hello to guests, and they would enter and exit by themselves through that staircase we just came up. But everybody, as they walk through this entranceway, who'd not been in the space before, you know, as you turn and look at this, it's just a spectacular view.
Right, right. You never get tired. I never get tired, so I imagine you never did either.
I didn't.
I love showing this, whether it's to a colleague or an associate, and certainly to a prospective buyer. I just never get tired of coming in this room because it's so breathtaking.
So this is the outdoor patio. We spend a great deal of time out here in the summers in particular. And what's nice about it is that you are just high enough up being off the third floor that you can still see above some of the trees here and some of the landscaping and Ridge Avenue in the back there. It's a real nice respite from being inside all the time.
It's a good sized patio. I love the way that you anchored it with the wrought iron. It just enhances the space. And oh my goodness, how this has changed from when you first moved in.
Absolutely. There's so much more growth in the trees around me, which makes it even more private up here too.
Mm-hmm.